Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're digging into something you see every single day, but probably don't think about, the real cost of construction. And let me tell you, it's way more than just bricks and mortar. So let me ask you, when you think about what it costs to put up a new building, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Yeah, for most people, it's the obvious stuff. But here's the thing, the true cost, it's like a giant iceberg. And we all know the most dangerous part of an iceberg is the massive chunk you can't see, right? Okay, so materials and labor, they're the big dogs for sure. They take up the biggest slice of the pie, about 60%. But that leaves a huge 40% of the budget unaccounted for. That's a massive chunk of change. So today, we're going to pull back the curtain on that mystery slice. All right, let's dive in. First, we'll tackle the two big expenses everybody thinks of. This is the visible tip of that iceberg we were talking about, and yeah, they make up more than half the total cost of any given project. First up, the actual stuff you build with. Construction materials. We're talking about everything from the concrete and steel that make up the building's skeleton, all the way to the tiles and paint that give it its final look. And this category alone, it eats up a good quarter to a third of the entire budget. That's huge. And right there with materials, you've got labor. This is paying for all the skilled people, the carpenters, the electricians, the plumbers, who actually take a blueprint and turn it into a real physical thing. So yeah, these two are the absolute giants of any construction budget. So as you can see here, these two costs are pretty much neck and neck. But, and this is the important part, they are so not the whole story, not even close. Okay, now it's time to dive below the waterline. We're getting into the project's support system. Think of it like the hidden machinery that's absolutely crucial to keep everything running smoothly and, out of trouble. And there's a real logical flow to this. First, you've got to get all your legal approvals, right? Your permits, your land surveys. You can't even break ground without them. Then, you need people on site to manage the day-to-day chaos. And finally, you need someone steering the ship, strong project leadership to see it all through to the end. Now, when you look at these numbers individually, they don't seem like much, do they? A percent here, a few percent there, but don't let that fool you. When you add them all up, the permits, the surveys, the site staff, all that coordination, you're easily looking at another 10, maybe even 20% of the whole budget. It adds up fast. And here's a really interesting point about that last one, project management. It's not just a cost. Think of it more as an investment. Seriously, strong project management is one of the best ways to reduce delays and control the budget. It can literally save you a ton of money in the long run. All right, let's go even deeper now. This next hidden layer is all about the experts, the essential extras, and, this one's critical, the financial safety net that every single project absolutely has to have. So, you can't have a great building without a great design team, right? And that really boils down to two key groups. You've got your architects, they're the creative vision, making sure it looks good and works well. And then you have your engineers, the folks who make sure the whole thing is safe, efficient, and, won't fall down. Okay, here's a classic mistake, and it's a budget killer. It's all the stuff that actually makes a building usable. We're talking furniture, lighting, appliances, you name it. People forget to budget for this at the beginning, and then, bam, they get a massive cost shock right at the end of the project. So what happens when things go wrong? Because let's be honest, something always goes wrong on a construction project. Well, that's what contingency is for. And it's so important to understand this. It is not wasted money. It's not a sign you planned poorly. It's a smart, planned safety net for all those inevitable, unexpected surprises. And this is really cool. Contingency isn't just one static number. It actually changes over time. See, at the very beginning, when everything's just a concept, there's a ton of uncertainty. So you need a bigger safety net, maybe 10 to 15%. But as you nail down the design and the risks get smaller, the amount of money you need to keep in that safety net goes down too. Makes sense, right? Okay, so we've looked at all these pieces, all these different costs. What's the big takeaway here? What's the real reason so many projects seem to spiral out of control and go over budget? Well, it might not be what you think. We've already established that, materials and labor are the two giants in the room. They consistently eat up more than half of the entire budget. But, and this is the absolute key insight of this whole thing, it's not the size of those big ticket items that usually sinks a budget. No, the real killer is failing to plan for and manage all those hidden costs, all that stuff we talked about that's lurking below the surface of the water. So the next time you walk past a construction site or look up at a skyscraper, what are you going to see? I hope it's more than just steel and glass. I hope you see that whole complex financial ecosystem. And remember that success isn't just about building well, it's about planning for the entire iceberg.